The Alcázar of Segovia is a medieval castle located in the city of Segovia, in Castile and León, Spain. It has existed since at least the 12th century, and is one of the most renowned medieval castles globally, and one of the most visited landmarks in Spain. It has been the backdrop for significant historical events, and has been home to 22 kings, along with notable historical figures. The fortress stands on a rocky crag at the western end of Segovia's old city, which was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985, one above the confluence of the rivers Eresma and Clamores. Today, it is used as a museum and a military archives building since its declaration as a national archive by a royal decree in 1998. It has also worked at times as a state prison, a royal artillery college, and a military academy. The Alcazar served both as a royal palace and a fortress for the Castilian monarchs, and its architecture reflects the grandeur and is a notable example of power architecture. The impenetrable walls, the deep moat, its impressive towers like the Homage or John Tus, and the strategic location symbolize power and authority. Furthermore, the luxury and opulence of its interior, with lavishly decorated rooms and coffered ceilings, were designed to awe and subdue visitors, reinforcing the authority of the kings of Castile. Similarly, the legends and rumors surrounding the Alcázar of Segovia have played a significant role in its history. Despite its stern and fortified appearance, the Alcázar of Segovia has also been a place of daily life. Many princes, nobles, and infants have grown up within its halls, and their presence has helped soften the palace's appearance, making the castle a home for many. Its history begins in the 12th or early 13th century, when the royal family of Castile had quarters in the Alcázar, known as the Major Palace. In the Homage Tower, the treasure of the Crown of Castile was stored, from which funds were secured to finance Christopher Columbus's first voyage. In 1437, the books of the royal administration were moved to the Alcázar, establishing one of the first royal archives of Castile and laying one of the foundations for the current General Archive of Simancas. Additionally, the Alcázar housed the Royal Armory, which served as the basis for the one now exhibited in the Royal Armory of Madrid. The Alcázar has been the stage for crucial events in Spain's history, such as meetings of the Cortes of Castile, held there on multiple occasions. The signing of the Concord of Segovia, which laid the groundwork for the formation of the Spanish nation, took place there. Isabel the Catholic, one of the most significant and influential women in history, left the Alcázar to proclaim herself Queen of Castile. It was also the site of the last meeting between Christopher Columbus and King Ferdinand the Catholic before the explorer's death. The marriage of Philip II to Anna of Austria strengthened the alliance between the House of Habsburg and the Hispanic monarchy. As the headquarters of the Royal College of Artillery, in the 18th century, the first military flight for military purposes was carried out, marking the beginning of military aviation, and the chemist Joseph Proust, a professor at the Royal College, formulated the law of definite proportions, a fundamental advance in modern chemistry. The Alcázar of Segovia has made its mark on cinema and popular culture. It was used by Orson Welles in the film Chimes at Midnight, 1965, and served as inspiration for Cinderella Castle in the Walt Disney movie. History. The Alcázar of Segovia, like many fortifications in Spain, started off as a Roman castrum, but apart from the foundations, little of the original structure remains. The Alcázar was built by the Berber Almoravid dynasty. Almoravid art and architecture is scarcely talked about in scholarship in part because so little of the physical work has survived in Spain. Furthermore, the Almoravid dynasty was short-lived, and therefore much of the art and architecture of that period was subsequently destroyed or converted by their successors. The first reference to this castle was in 1120, around 32 years after the city of Segovia was conquered by the Christians. During the Reconquista, when King Alfonso VI reconquered lands to the south of the Duero River, down to Toledo and beyond. In 1258, during the reign of King Alfonso X of Castile, r. 1252 to 1284, an intense thunderstorm caused a fire that destroyed several rooms, leading to centuries-long reconstruction during the reigns of various kings. It is not known what the shape and form of the Alcázar was before the reign of King Alfonso VIII, 1155 to 1214. However, early documentation mentioned a wooden stockade fence. Citation needed. It can be concluded by that prior to Alfonso VIII's reign, the Muslim-era structure was no more than a wooden fort built over the old Roman foundations. Alfonso VIII and his wife, Eleanor of England, sister of Richard the Lionheart, made this Alcazar their principal residence, and much work was carried out to erect the beginnings of the stone fortification we see today. Citation needed. The Alcázar of Segovia was one of the favorite royal residences, starting in the 13th century, that in turn led to secular patronage to the city of Segovia. 5. It was during this period that most of the current building was constructed by the House of Trastamara. 4. In 1258, parts of the Alcazar had to be rebuilt by King Alfonso X after a cave-in, and the Hall of Kings was built to house Parliament soon after. Citation needed, however. The single largest contributor to the continuing construction of the Alcazar was King John II of Castile, who built the new tower. John II Tower, as it is known today. That citation needed. In 1474, the Alcazar played a major role in the rise of Queen Isabella I. On December 12, news of King Henry IV's death in Madrid reached Segovia, and Isabella immediately took refuge within the walls of the Alcazar, where she received the support of Andres Cabrera and Segovia's council. Citation needed. She was enthroned the next day as Queen of Castile and León. The next major renovation at the Alcazar was conducted by King Philip II after his marriage to Anne of Austria. Citation needed. He added the sharp slate spires to reflect the castles of Central Europe. Citation needed. In 1587, architect Francisco de Mora completed the main garden and the school of honor areas of the castle. Citation needed. During his visit to Spain, known as the Spanish Match, Prince Charles of England visited the Alcazar in 1623. After dining at Valsayn. 6. He was entertained by Luis Geronimo de Cabrera, 4th Count of Chinchon, who was then keeper of the Alcazar. Prince Charles was shown the galley room, or Second Great Hall, with the heraldry of Catherine of Lancaster. In the evening there was a torchlit masque involving 32 mounted knights. Prince Charles gave the Count of Chinchon a jewel and rewarded the poet Don Juan de Torres for his verses. He left early in the morning for Santa Maria la Real de Neva. The restoration of the Royal College of Artillery was among the many reforms conducted under the reign of King Charles III of Spain, r. 1759 to 1788. He appointed Count Felix Gazzola as the director of the Artillery Corps, who made the executive decision to install the academy in the Segovian fortress in the Alcazar. At its opening in 1764, the military college stood as a symbol of the city's new age of progress in political and military education. 4. On March 6, 1862, another fire occurred at the castle, destroying the sumptuous ceilings of the private rooms that were reserved exclusively for the nobility. As demonstrated in the engravings by José María Avril and Flores in 1839, the structures were restored to their previous appearances. In 1896, King Alfonso XIII ordered the Alcazar to be handed over to the Ministry of War as a military college. Citation needed. The Board of Trustees of the Alcazar of Segovia was created by the decree of the Presidency of the Government on January 18, 1951. The purpose of this was to ensure cultural, artistic, and historical preservation of the Alcazar's triple function as a royal castle, military precinct, and military academy. The Belt Room. Description. The exterior of the castle has a Herrerian-style courtyard, moat, drawbridge, and keep. The interior rooms include a chapel and several noble rooms, Cuartos del Trono, de la Galera, de las Piñas, de los Reyes, and others, that can be visited today. 4. A triumphal arch, located on the corner of the southeast part of the palace, just beyond the moat, was likely ornamented with heraldic devices and served as a grand entrance to the Alcazar. However, today it no longer survives. It was changed during the Habsburg period sometime during the 16th century. The castle sits on a hill overlooking the city, with 4 towers and several halls that are constructed with barrel vaults and twin windows. In the interior, the halls and rooms were decorated with great luxury and beauty by Mudéjar painters and artists. Currently, It houses an armory museum and the General Military Archive of Segovia, the oldest historical archive of the Spanish Armed Forces. 4. Tower of John II of Castile. Hall of the Old Palace. Fireplace Hall. View of the throne room, with the motto of the Catholic monarchs on the front of the dos Sal. Hall of the Galley, with the mural of the coronation of Isabella I of Castile in the background. Royal Chamber. Hall of the Kings. Armory Room. The Tower of King John II of Castile, R. 1406 to 1454, was built during the first half of the 15th century. The style is notably recognized as Spanish Gothic architecture, with influences from Islamic art, such as a horseshoe arch found during renovations in the southern side of the tower. 11. The tower culminates in a large panoramic terrace with two pointed arches of varying heights built into the walls of the eastern and western portions of the tower. On the east side of the tower, a large, double Gothic window that reached to the floor and facing the city of Segovia was built so that the king's entire body could be seen by others as he stood, framed by the window. The side that projects towards the city was initially used as a parade ground, which was common in military architecture. 4. There are two steep and spiral staircases with 156 steps that ascend to the top of the tower. 4. At the end of first section, there is a guard room. Attached to the front wall is a bed where the watchman of the tower would have slept. Interior rooms. According to the Illustrated Magazine of Art, 1853, the interior of the Castle of Segovia is in perfect accordance with the magnificence of its exterior. Many apartments are decorated with delicate traceries and pendant ornaments, in the style of the Alhambra, and, like those of the Alcazar of Seville, were executed by Arabian workmen during the Christian dominion of the 14th century. For in many places the crowns of the kings of Castile may be seen, surrounded by Latin mottos, sic, and extracts from the Quran. Hall of the Old Palace. Its construction corresponds to the reign of Alfonso VIII of Castile. Citation needed. In it, the twinned windows that gave light to the palace are conserved, since the wall in which they were was the exterior wall of the old palace. Citation needed. The Mujar-style socles located between the windows come from a 13th century house in the nearby Las Canongias district. Citation needed. The decoration was completed with a set of German-style armor from the 15th century. Citation needed. Hall of the Fireplace. Corresponds to the ordination of the fortress in the time of Philip II of Spain. Citation needed. The furniture is from the 16th century. Citation needed. On the walls you can see a portrait of Philip II and another of Philip III, a 16th century Flemish tapestry with the subject of Our Lady's betrothal, and a curious representation where you can contemplate the appearance of the Alcazar before the reform of the roofs, and where you can also see the former Cathedral of Segovia that was located in the current square of the Alcazar. Citation needed. Throne Room, Salon del Solio. The walls of the throne room mostly consist of portraits of various kings, which are part of the collection of kings commissioned by Queen Isabella II of Spain. Both portraits are signed by their respective artists. The portrait of Isabella I of Castile is signed by Madrazo, while the portrait of Ferdinand II of Aragon is signed by Montaigne. In addition, there is a depiction of the ruler himself and Ciela seated. This image corresponds to the fact that extant written documents from the 14th century actually referred to the throne room as the Rey and Ciela, king sitting on the throne, enthroned king. Often these rooms were used for different types of political ceremonies, including the receiving of foreign embassies, banquets, musical performances, and literary events. The rooms could be decorated with different types of objects, like tableware and textiles, including tapestries, that allowed for the space to be transformed to suit the particular event. Hall of the Galley, Sala de la Galera. The mother of John II, Queen Catherine of Lancaster, R. 1390 to 1406, commissioned the construction of the Hall of the Galley in 1412. The name of the room derives from the coffered ceiling that was shaped like an inverted ship hull. 4. The frieze is made of mudéjar plaster with a double inscription. The upper one includes a prayer related to the Eucharist, and the lower one offers information about the work displayed in the hall. 4. There are two stained glass windows in the hall of the gallery. One of these windows portrays Henry III of Castile, R. 1390 to 1406, and his family. The second window portrays King Henry II of Castile, r. 1366 to 1367, and scenes of the death of Peter I and John II. Citation needed. A painting by Muñoz de Pablos hangs on a wall in the gallery depicting the coronation of the Isabella I of Castile as Queen of Castile and of Leon in the Church of San Miguel of Segovia. Hall of Las Piñas, Sala de las Piñas. The inspiration for the name of this room comes from the decorative motifs in the artesanato ceiling that features many pineapple-like motifs. The stained glass window portrays King Alfonso VII, r. 1126 to 1157, with his daughter, Queen Berengaria of Castile, r. 1217. Royal Chamber. In its walls you can see scenes of the family life of the Catholic monarchs. Citation needed. The bed has a brocade cover woven in gold. Hall of the Kings, Sala de los Reyes. King Alfonso X, r. 1252 to 1284, commissioned the construction of the Hall of the Kings. 10. The space has ornamental ceilings, and the upper portions of the four walls are decorated with a 5-layer cloth. The design and layout of the Hall of the Kings borrowed iconography from the Palace of Alhambra. In the 1400s, King Henry IV of Castile, r. 1454 to 1474, played a large role in the final design of the Hall of the Kings. Historical and literary references are evident in the decoration, including the storied medieval Castilian knight, El Cid. 11. King Henry IV's decision to incorporate a gallery that depicted various rulers of Castile and León in seated positions into the hall's decoration was designed to demonstrate the political legitimacy of those in power during 15th century Spain. Similar imagery can be found in the King's Hall, Sala de los Reyes, also sometimes identified as the Hall of Justice at the Alhambra, where an image of 10 seated rulers located in the ceiling vault are believed by some scholars to represent different emirs from the Nasrid dynasty. Other scholars, however, have argued that due to the presence of small coats of arms below the figures and at the two ends of the image, the scene likely represents the ruler, in this case, Muhammad V of Granada, r. 1354 to 1359, accompanied by a group of wise men, various teachers, and literary figures, is a meeting known as a mejlis. 11. Whoever is illustrated in the imagery in the Alcazar of Segovia's Hall of Kings. The message concerns the representation of political power, dominance, and legitimacy. Philip II of Spain, r. 1580 to 1598, commissioned Hernando de Avila to design one of the statues that represented the kings of Asturias, Leon, and Castile. One of the paintings in the room is a portrait of King Philip II of Spain, and the others are portraits of two of his wives, Elizabeth of Valois, r. 1559 to 1568, and Anna of Austria, r. 1570 to 1580. Room of the Belt. Its name is because of a long golden lace attached to the walls surrounding the room. Citation needed. Chapel Capilla. The chapel at the Alcazar of Segovia houses Adoration of the Magi, circa 1600, by Italian painter, architect, and sculptor Bartolomeo Carducci. Due to its historical significance and architectural accomplishments, the castle hosted numerous events. One of the most famous events at the Alcazar was the wedding of Philip II of Spain with his niece, Anna of Austria, in 1570, which took place in the castle's chapel, weapons or armory room. The Alcazar has housed the armory of the House of Trastamara since old times, and was the precedent of the collections of weapons that finally met in the Royal Armory of Madrid. Museum of the Royal College of Artillery, Museo del Real Colegio de Artilleria. The Royal College of Artillery was divided into two parts, the academy, and as a meeting place for the military and cadets in training. To attend the school, applicants were exclusively chosen from the noble estate or related to army captains and artillery corps. The allure of the school consisted of not only its scientific and military accomplishments, but in its integration of teachings of Christian ideals. In popular culture, depicted as Coca's Castle, it is the first shown fortress in the manga Berserk. The Alcazar was used as the setting for Brobdingnag, the land of the giants, in the Three Worlds of Gulliver, 1960, 1718. The castle also served as the French home of Sir Lancelot du Lac, Joyous Garde, in the 1967 musical film Camelot. The castle's silhouette and overall appearance also inspired the castle in Disney's 1937 animated classic, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Sylvain Castle, a dungeon in the 1995 action RPG Terranigma, is based on it. The castle is used as the setting for Gildan in The Wheel of Time.
皇宫里向的物事蛮灵的啦，皇宫啊，就是一只那个叫我吃块泥，老人吃块泥。
吃块泥。
就是一只那个皇宫后头不是有只博物馆嘛？搿只博物馆是人家送伊个物事啦，伊侪存辣里向。送伊个珍品啊，交关那个朝代老向个物事。哦，搿里向灵个，物事老灵个。我实际上只有看了，还有一只没看，我看了3层楼了。搿里向的物事哦，真个是勿得了，灵了勿得了。哦，搿搭，搿拉阿拉同学是同学介绍，伊讲侬搿个地方一定要来，伊讲侬到马德里搿地方一定要来，搿是一句，被讲对了，伊讲侬一定要去个，伊讲搿老灵哦，还有个普拉那个特拉明朝一直叫特拉普拉图也要去，伊讲也灵个，伊讲，哦。这个只有童话故事里有了，这个叫卡索了，知道吧？卡索就是城堡啊，卡索就是城堡了。啊，我领侬出去，好个吓侬，难晓得了，真的是。